Okay, I'll be doing, this is an oral history project for Social Studies Honor Society, and this is going to be
Slow
a,
down.
This is going to be what?
it's going to be
Oral
an oral
history
project,
project. Good.
and we might use it for a database for future historians.
Ooh.
Okay, going to the civil rights era, like how old were you at that time?
From late teens into my 20s.
Okay. So if, where did you live at that time?
New York City, Brooklyn.
Okay, so I think Brooklyn was kind of diverse and already mixed. Did you
It
see,
sure was.
So did you like not have, and was it not as big of a deal up there as it was?
No, because everybody was already pretty much mixed up at that point. As a matter of fact, we had such an influx of Puerto Ricans, etc., that we had overcrowding in the schools. I had assignments sitting on like the windowsill with the radiator and had a class in the attic because it was just an explosion of people. I lived in a neighborhood that was Jewish, Scandinavian, German, and Puerto Rican. Most of my friends were some Scandinavian, Danish, Norwegian, so they had names like Lance and Lars and Ragnar. I mean, really good names.
Yeah. So, like, you have this picture right here, and so you said you did the Cold War. What did you do?
Did a really Cold War.
Yes, what did you do during that?
I flew security on cargo planes from Alaska up through the North Pole over to Greenland, so we could watch the Russians watching us and see if anything like missiles were coming across the ice cap towards the U.S. We also shared the eastern part with the Germans, the Baltic Patrol, and they would fly in, so you'd see a lot of German aircraft and other Allied aircraft that covered it. And we flew and covered 24/7, just like we had B-52s through the Strategic Air Command that flew 24/7. We had bombers in the air all the time, something that no other country in the world could possibly afford.
How did you first get involved with that, or just?
Oh, that was easy.
Just
I was in college for a year, and my Uncle Sam kept asking me for more physicals, and finally I said, I give up, and so I joined the Air Force, because otherwise I was going to be in the Army. Didn't have a choice.
Did you think this experience was a good one, or do you not like that?
I hated every minute of it. No, it was fun, because I was young and stupid, and I could do young and stupid things, and we were all doing what we thought was important, and we didn't have a choice, so you might as well enjoy it, because there you were.
Yeah.
I spent, there was a time, there was almost 6 months when I didn't see the sun, because I worked at night and the sun only kind of didn't come up. And there was other times in Alaska and Greenland where the sun just circled right over my head. And it was pretty much noon all day long.
Did you have any like interaction with the Russians or come in contact close with them?
No, the closest I ever came was when we would send up fighter planes to intercept them and chase them back where they belong. That was it. I didn't meet the Russians until '89 when I was in the Soviet Union.
Okay. Did you do the Vietnam War as well? No.
Yes, it's all part and parcel of that. I flew out of Japan, Tachikawa, into Vietnam and back out, and what we would do, the unit I was in, we would have the flight sergeant write our names down on a piece of paper and put it in his pocket, and if we came back, then he'd just tear up the paper. So it would never happen. I was never there. If I didn't come back, then I would be officially written into the manifest.
What did you do over in Vietnam?
I was an aircraft mechanic. I just made sure aircraft were flying, and I patched them up when I came back.
After you came back from Vietnam, how was life back in here in the United States?
Well, it was a bit strange. I went back to college, which was great because a lot of us were coming back. So all of a sudden in college, the teachers not only had the young people out of high school, which were boring, they had all of these guys with all of this experience to share, and all of the classes became more interesting because there was a lot more dynamic going on because we had a lot more to say than the kids straight out of high school.
So it was easy for you to adjust back?
Yeah, pretty much, because first of all, I was older, and second of all, I was more disciplined being through the military. I knew what I wanted, so I got a 4-year degree in 3.
Where did you study?
Odd U, Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia.
Did you notice that, like, you adjusted pretty well? Did you see other people that you knew that did not adjust as well coming back? Or?
Of course, there was just no end of the versions of problems, including people who lost body parts, you know. But yeah, one of the primary stories my friend told me was he was a grunt. He was just walking through the rice paddies all the time, and when he got back, it was a 1, 2, 3. One day he was walking through the rice paddies, and he was ordered back to Saigon. Then he got a physical. They put him on an airplane, and he was home. And within 24 hours, because of airplanes today, he was walking down his hometown. 24 hours later, completely different life, and he kept looking around. He kept wondering what the heck was missing, and he couldn't figure it out until finally he stopped and he realized his hands were doing this. He wasn't carrying a weapon, which he had done for 2 years straight. And he just broke down and cried. It was a complete shut off of one life and start of another. And that bothered him for a long time.
As you came back, did you notice the people here, were they supportive of veterans, or were they not?
There was no bands. There was no flags. I got a free ride on a bus. Yeah, that was good because I knew that they wouldn't take change anymore, but I pretended I didn't. So everybody yelled at the bus driver, so I got a free ride. But yeah, it was just, we were just one of many coming back, and it was just, you just got reabsorbed and went on with what it was you were doing. Kind of forgot the fact that you had been kidnapped for 4 years.
Do you think you learned a lot from this for your life now, or this experience?
Well, yeah, I get to be interviewed.
Yeah.
This is kind of cool. Yes, there's always a difference if you're paying attention. I learned a lot, and I applied a lot of what I learned for, later on in life or what I'm doing. Because you can't tell in 4 years would I have matured that much. You don't know.
What's the badge over there?
This is, that was what I wore, which was the Tactical Air Force. There were 3 main divisions in the Air Force. There's Tactical, Strategic, there's MAC, Material Air Command, and there's ADC, that makes 4, Air Defense Command. MAC was the big aircraft, we call them swept wing bug suckers. The big jets that carried stuff from a safe place to a safe place. We were tactical, so we would fly into combat areas in C-130s and other type of short takeoff landing and drop off ammunition, pick up wounded, and do that stuff. We were in the action. Air Defense Command protects CONOS, the immediate United States, from attacks, and if they were awake, 9/11 wouldn't have happened, but they weren't awake. That kind. And SAC, Strategic Air Command, which flew the B-52s, which might have prevented World War III. It's hard to tell. There were so many in the air all the time, 24/7. No other country could have had that many aircraft in the air all the time. And financially, I think that's what broke the Soviet Union, the fact they could not begin to compete with that kind of air superiority.
Do you want to describe these pictures too?
Of good at this. You're getting better. Okay, these are two photos from Arlington, Virginia, just outside of D.C., and these two show the standard civil defense bunkers that they were selling people to put in their basements or outside, and you would have this corrugated aluminum frame, and then you would put sandbags all around it in order to kind of protect you from any nuclear attacks or something that theoretically the Russians could launch at any minute, which is what stirred me to be in Alaska, for instance. And that was standard. People bought those and put them in their homes. And oddly enough, they found out that they weren't very good to stop the rats. Rats can go through, I forget how many feet of concrete if they decide to. It's just really scary. But fiberglass stops them.
Thank you for your information.